Here is an overview of what the import process from Blackboard to Canvas generally looks like for a face-to-face course. I have two tabs open on my computer, the original Blackboard shell and the new blank Canvas shell. This Blackboard shell was the online component of a face-to-face course, and its setup is very simple. Its main purpose was to store the files and readings, and then, of course, the grade center. And it's pretty common for face-to-face courses generally to have a simple digital presence. You see all these links on the side here though. They were part of the default blank course in Blackboard, but most of them went unused. The only links that are actually needed for this course are announcements, my grades, and content, which is where all the readings were posted. The rest of these navigation items are extraneous. Let's look at the Grade Center. The default Blackboard course comes with a column called Weighted Total, which most people don't use, favoring instead a total points column. We'll talk about this later. All of these assignments here are set for manual entry of grades. Students would submit their papers in class, not digitally, and the instructor would type in the grades by hand. So it's a very simple, basic Blackboard shell to support a face-to-face course. Let's look at how to get this content into Canvas. These are the navigation links that come with a default blank Canvas shell, and you can and probably should modify these at some point. Your shell may have the template in it instead, which is probably preferable, but I am demonstrating using a completely blank shell for right now. In the previous video, we covered how to export the zip file from Blackboard, so if you have that on your computer, you should be ready for the next steps. In Canvas, click on Settings, then find the button that says Import Course Content. From the drop-down menu, select Blackboard 6789 Export Zip File. Next to Source, click Browse, and then find the file you exported previously. Ignore the menu about question banks. Next to Content, click either All Content or select Specific Content. I'm of the opinion that most courses would benefit from being selective about what you import. To show you why I think that, I'm going to demonstrate what happens when we import everything. So once it finishes importing, we can take a look around. You'll notice that the default when you click Home is to jump to the syllabus page, which may or may not be ideal. I always suggest creating a default home landing page separate from the syllabus in order to give students a welcome message and guide them in how to navigate the course site. If your course has the template applied to it, then a home landing page is provided. You'll notice the announcements all came over, which may or may not be what you wanted. Most people create new announcements each semester, so you'll probably have to delete these one at a time. If we go to the assignments page, we see first of all a bunch of strange phantom assignment groupings which are empty. These are artifacts from the import process. Any kind of calculated column in Blackboard and any kind of assignment category, even the ones you didn't use, will come over as what Canvas calls an assignment group. So you notice the weighted total here. That was one of the default calculated columns, if you recall. We also have ones like blogs, journals, etc. And obviously you won't need to use all of these assignment groups, so you're going to have to delete them. And again, it will be one at a time. If we scroll all the way down, we'll see where the actual assignments came through. These are the Grade Center columns that were in Blackboard. They came through as paper assignments in Canvas. The thing to be aware of is that Canvas sets all imported Grade Center columns as actual digital submission assignments, instead of the manual grading setup that we had in Blackboard. This happens whether you import all or you are selective about what you import. Either way, just be aware you'll have to go into the assignment, click Edit, and set it for No Submission, which means that the students will not be prompted to submit a digital file, and the instructor will manually enter their grades. That's how to revert it to the equivalent of the manual column from Blackboard. As a side note, if you have not ever experimented with digital grading, I would highly recommend giving it a try. It can often save you quite a bit of time. Now, if we click Files, we'll see that they did get imported. However, the Files area is for the instructor. It is not for the students in a Canvas course. The files themselves have to be linked somewhere in the course for the students to be able to download them. So if we click on Modules, we'll see that that's where Canvas put those links. This may or may not be okay with you, and we'll go over what modules are in a moment, But you'll first notice we have this extra module here called Course Information with nothing in it. That was one of the default links in Blackboard's navigation menu, if you recall. Even though the link was actually empty, it still came over to Canvas as a module. And in some courses, depending on how they were originally set up in Blackboard, you end up with a lot of these empty or extraneous modules because there were lots of links in the original navigation menu that you don't really want to be modules. And in that case, you would have to go through and delete each one at a time. Something to be aware of in Canvas is that you cannot change the wording of the items in the navigation menu over here. So if you wanted to call the modules link course content or readings or something like that, you cannot. It's called modules and that's it. And the word module might be a bit confusing if you are not actually using the modules the way Canvas expects. A module in Canvas implies a guided lesson. If you go into a module, it shows you the item to read, and then at the bottom of the page, there's a next button here, which takes you to the next item in the list. And it's kind of meant to be like a lesson where you do this first, then you do that, and it guides the students through the course in a linear fashion. Modules are generally more intended for fully online courses. They may be acceptable for your face-to-face course, or they may not. Your course readings might be meant more as a reference or repeated use, or you might want to provide students with more guidance or commentary or instructions on these files, something like that. The problem with linking to the files from the modules page is that you cannot add commentary the way you could if you put them onto a page like this. You also cannot design the modules tool with colors or images the way you can with pages. And that's just an aesthetic issue, but still worth mentioning. So to recap, the issues that happen when we import a course wholesale without being selective. 1, you'll need to create a home page unless you already have a template. 2, you'll have to delete the announcements one at a time. 3, you need to delete extra phantom assignment groups and delete extra phantom modules and figure out whether you're going to use modules at all, which I actually don't recommend for face-to-face courses usually. So I mentioned that I suggest being selective about what you import. This will probably save you time as well as provide a course that is easier for students to navigate and understand. The process for that is similar. Go back to Settings, then Import Course Content, and Blackboard 6789, and find your zip file. And this time, instead of all content, choose Select Specific Content. Then wait for it to run, and when it's done, you'll see a button here that says Select Content. This will bring up a menu of everything in the zip file sorted by type as Canvas recognizes them. So you can expand the Modules tab to see what's there and choose only those items you want. Again, my recommendation is usually not to import the modules though, and I'll show you what I recommend instead in a moment. On assignments, you'll see all those phantom groups, but you'll also see your actual assignments from your course, so you can select just those. And finally, files. I recommend importing all your files, or you could choose just the ones you want. Click Import and wait for it to run. And that's the basic process of importing. The next step when it's done would be reassembling what Canvas imported into a usable site. If you have a template, you can work with the pages provided. If you're starting from scratch, you can create a new page. When you click Edit on a page, or you create a new page, you have this typing area where you can put links to all your resources. So you might create headers for weeks, for example, or you could divide your materials by topics or by type. Then under the headers, you insert links to the files by going to this area on the right, click Files, then scroll down to the file you want. Simply click it and Canvas will automatically generate a link to that file. Easy. Then you can type a hard return and click another file and keep going like that. When you do it this way, you can also add commentary, guidance, and aesthetic design such as images to the page. Additionally, once you click Save, you'll see that each file link has a little icon next to it. The students can click that icon, and Canvas will expand the file on the page, allowing them to read it without the hassle of downloading. This is why I recommend building pages instead of using modules in a Canvas shell for face-to-face courses. Further resources for learning Canvas can be found at links.asu.edu/shipperscanvas.